Speakers today are Our speakers today are Fran Howell and Diane Walter Lopez. Fran Howell is the president of the board of Port Angeles Food Bank. She started volunteering there in 2016. 4 days a week, she does what she's called grocery rescue, picking up food donated by local grocery stores. Fran's early years were spent in New York City, where her parents didn't have much, but made sure she never went hungry. Now that the statute of limitations has run out, Fran can admit that she lied on her resume to get her first job at a radio station in Boise. Then on to King and Cairo and radio in Seattle before moving to Houston for her career. After leaving Seattle, Fran yearned to get back to the Northwest. And now back here, she calls Port Angeles her paradise, and she brings so much experience to our community. So I asked her what she would wish for. And technical difficulties, sorry. She said, she wishes all the food she eats standing over the kitchen sink really doesn't have calories. And I think we've all said that at one point. But she adds in honesty that her wish is that no person should experience the horror of an empty stomach with no access to food. The lesson Fran learned from her mother is that food is love. And that's why she says sharing, love, and caring through food is so rewarding at the Port Angeles Food Bank. And to that, she added a PS, may no one go hungry in 2022. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Frances Howell and Diana Walter Lopez.
Oh, thanks, Kathy. Oh my goodness. I really do wish that food I eat standing over the kitchen sink had no calories. So that would be my biggest, fondest hope. But at least I'm lucky enough to have that kind of food that I can go to my refrigerator and open the refrigerator and have something to eat. And that's why I participate with the food bank. And so it's a pleasure to be your kickoff speaker in 2020 to tell you about it, because it's an important topic here in the community is food and food insecurity. And well, I presume everyone's had a good breakfast, because that's what we'll talk about is food. And more precisely, really, it's how to get the food that we have at the food bank out to those who need it in Port Angeles and in Clallam County. And so before we talk about that specifically, I do want to introduce Diana Walter Lopez. And on my screen, Diana, you're on the top right. Goodness knows where you are on someone else's screen out there, but I can see you. And Diana is a longtime friend, and she's also the newest member of the board of the Port Angeles Food Bank. And so while she's learning the ropes about how our organization works, she brings to the board something that none of us have on the board currently, luckily anyway, is that none of us have used our food bank. We've been running it for years, but we've never actually taken food from it or been given food from it. And so Diana, you bring to the table something that you can share today in terms of your experiences with working with the food bank. So Diana, maybe you could share your story of how it is you came to be at the food bank.
Thanks, Fran. I don't think my story is particularly unique. However, as I'm nearing my 80th birthday, I am financially challenged, and I still needed to work at least part-time to make sure that I could cover my variable expenses. My fixed expenses are okay, but the variables, which includes food, were whatever I could do. And Fran was aware of this and encouraged me for years to avail myself of the food bank, and I always poo-pooed it. And for a couple of reasons, I think one, I was embarrassed that I had the need. I had a good career, I made good money. I'm just at a point in my life now where there isn't any, for a variety of reasons. And then I thought, well, but other people need it more than I do. I don't want to be taking food away from people that are in more need than I am. And I was also concerned, I think, a little bit about paperwork. I thought if you went to the food bank, you'd have to fill out financials and kind of be judged. I just didn't want to go through it. So I kept putting it off. And Fran said, no, just, go. And so this past summer, I finally went. And I have to tell you, I expected very little. I thought maybe I'd get a box of Cheerios and a loaf of bread and maybe some eggs or something. And it was a life altering experience. I still tear up when I think about it. But I was in line because we're all doing drive-through now because of COVID. And I was in line, and you have all these welcoming signs as you're waiting in line that make you feel, hey, this is, we're happy to have you here. And when I finally got to the front of the line, the only question I was asked was my name and how many people were in my household, which in my case, I have a disabled son and who lives with me. So that was it. And the fellow that did that, the first welcoming guy, made it seem like they've been waiting for me forever and how nice to have you here. And, it was exhilarating. And I felt welcomed and not needy anymore. And then as you go through the line, you get to the front of the line and they start filling your car with boxes. And eventually, as Fran will explain, you'll be able to go in and choose your own food. But during COVID, they fill the boxes for you. And I came home with 3 large boxes. I think there were 49 items in it. And when I say item, I'm 3 pounds of apples is an item. And I had like, I don't know, half a dozen tomatoes is an item. So I had lots of food, and it was staples and fruits and vegetables and some meat and some non-perishable, non-eating items. I mean, there's sometimes you can get other things like Splenda or dog food. And it took me all day to just go through the boxes and fill my pantry. And I got to tell you, it was truly life altering because it allowed me to stop working. I was only working part-time, but nevertheless, it's nice to have those hours back. And I felt really valued as a person. And I think that's what I was worried about in my reluctance to go there in the first place. There's absolutely no judgment. The volunteers are wonderful. They make you feel like you're doing them a favor by showing up and taking the food. So that's really my story. I'm going this morning. I still go to the food bank about once a month. It really helps with keeping staples in my pantry and fresh, perishables when they're in season. This summer, of course, it was lots of fruits. And the thing that the food bank tells you is stop here first before you go shopping. Stop here on your way to Safeway, or stop here before you go to Walmart or wherever you shop, because they might have things that are on your shopping list. And indeed, they usually do. Like in the summer, it was strawberries and all kinds of fruits and melons and vegetables and, carrots and potatoes and onions, things that would normally be on my shopping list. So I told Fran talked to me about, wanting to come on the board to at least present my viewpoint as a customer. And so I'm happy to be doing that and, contributing in whatever way I can. I just want to get the word out of how valuable this resource is for people. And of course, now that we're in COVID, it's more valuable than ever because more people are in need. So that's it. I love the food bank. I'm so glad that Fran finally made me go, and had it not been for Fran, I still wouldn't have gone. So that friendship, everybody doesn't have a Fran though, so my job on the board, I think, partly is to get the word out to folks that are reluctant, as I was, to go because it's so valuable and it's not, you feel good. I was in tears when I left. I hugged all the volunteers, which of course wasn't allowed, but I did it anyway because they're marvelous and makes you feel good, and it, and I eat better. I'm learning to cook things that I never would have cooked because they were provided to me for free. So I'm now into winter squashes, which I've never eaten in my life, but so that's been a good thing too. So I'm eating better. I've made a lot of friends through the food bank and the board, and that's it. It's wonderful, and all of you should take advantage of an opportunity to go visit it when the new building is ready to open, and take a tour and see what they do. And Fran will explain it's a lot more than what I'm explaining. That's it. That's my story.
Also, Diane, I wanted to point out that you were nearing 80 and still working a job that you had to lift and move around a lot. And I was getting worried about your health. And it's just really fun to see now that you are retired. And a lot of it has to do with, I guess, taking care of the food off of your budget. So anyway, Diana.
And the worry about the food. So it's good for my mental health as well.
Oh, Diana. Well, thanks for sharing that. And we are trying to get the word out. The need is really big and it's growing. And Diana's more typical. A lot of people think of the food bank as a bunch of homeless people that line up and shuffle through. And we have much more in the way of people coming through who are like Diana. And it's been an interesting transition because of COVID. The needs have changed. The car, I can see the cars in the parking lot. I remember when we were on Valley Street and you saw the old beaters coming down the street, the old cars that were just kind of hanging together. We still see them, but we also see cars just like mine. And I have a 2011 CRV, and the other day somebody came through driving the exact same car, year, color as mine. We both kind of looked at each other because I kind of was like, is that your car? You know, and she was like, yes, in the parking lots, I saw another one just like mine. I said, yes, that's my car. So it's been an interesting experience watching the transition of people who are coming to the food bank. But what I'm here to tell you about, and what Diana's here to tell you about, is we have going a $5 million capital campaign, and it's called the Nourish to Flourish capital campaign. That sort of says everything. Nourish to flourish. We're trying to raise up our community, and $5 million. It's a big ask. It's a lot to go for. But behind the scenes, our executive director has been amazing, Emily Dexter, and she has worked through everything you could possibly find in terms of money out there, funding resources, and she has come up with $4 million. And we're looking at she was looking in places that we'd never looked at before for funding, foundations, which we had been, but state and federal money, pledges, awards, grants. She's cobbled it all together. And as a result, with $4 million of the $5 million campaign, we need $1 million from the community. And that's why we're going out and talking to you today, and to everybody who will listen. What that's going to get us is the purchase and the renovation of the Crown distribution warehouse that we moved into in 2020. Well, why did we move? Most of you know that we've been on Valley Street for so many, many years, and it was okay. We sort of made it work until recently. The building itself was cramped. We were outgrowing it. We were out of space. We just didn't have room for more refrigeration or freezer space. And we had been, from the time I joined the board in 2016, we'd been looking for alternatives. We were investigating buildings when they came open, the old Fanaticus, the old Hartnagels at Front and Race, the old school district building down by the police department. We sort of toured all of them and nothing was right. And then COVID hit. Oh my gosh, that was a game changer. Hunger and food insecurity dramatically skyrocketed. And boy, on Valley Street, we were just flat out of space. We couldn't stay there anymore. In fact, we had to turn away that first summer, semi trucks that were loaded with fresh food for really all of the North Olympic Peninsula. And it was heartbreaking. None of the other food banks that we work with, that we partner with, had any room either. And so food that was designated to come here was held back in Seattle. That was just unacceptable. And then all of a sudden we learned about that former beer warehouse that's available. It's in the Walmart area, in case, you know where McCrory's is on Oak Ridge. Just drive past McCrory's and the street dead ends, and it dead ends right into our warehouse. And we moved quickly, and we did get a lease to own agreement. And it didn't take us long then to move in once the ink was dry. And we started working on pulling together the funding to start the renovations. And gosh, it took about 8 months. I wanted it to happen faster. Everybody does, but we had to follow the process and do it all right. And I think still we moved very quickly, given what we were dealing with. And one of the things, one of your own, Steve, who I don't think is here anymore, he had a doctor appointment, Steve Zenovic, He's our project manager. And so you know it's in good hands. The construction work is just going along as best it can. Right now, the only snag we keep finding is supply chain. We need items for the construction, and sometimes they're held up on a boat somewhere in the Pacific. But for the most part, the work is going well. And what we're doing, we're taking a portion of that building and turning it into what we're calling the market at Port Angeles Food Bank. And what we're doing is creating a grocery store. So when people come in, they can choose what they want. It's going to be an inviting place. It's going to be bright, and it's going to have sections as you would in any grocery store. You're going to have the produce section, and then you're going to have the bakery section with the breads and the sweets, and then you're going to have a deli counter, and I don't know, just a typical, you'll have the refrigerators where you open up and you pull out the cottage cheese that you want. People are going to have choices. Many who are used to just being given handouts are going to have to use some thought processes now and take what they want for their households. And that's going to reduce waste. So that's another really big deal here. We're trying to cut the amount of waste that goes into landfills. Our landfills are filling up, and people take what they need and they'll use it. But that's all well and good. That's kind of food bank standard. But what now is so incredibly exciting is that part of the $1 million we're raising is going to go towards creating a commercial kitchen. And we're building that off the back of the current warehouse building. And it's every food bank's dream, and we're going to have one here. All too often with food banks, there's an abundance of things that sort of poosh, you get a whole bunch of perishable eggs or milk, and maybe you just can't give it all away. Apples in the fall, we are just inundated with apples and plums from the harvest. And in the winter, we get truckloads of onions and potatoes. If we can't use it all, we're going to share it with Serenity House, with Salvation Army, with the other food banks that are part of our partnership agreement on the peninsula. And even they, at some point, there's a limit to how much they can take. Last winter, we got a couple of pallets of 60-pound bags of onions. You do not want onions to go to waste, because boy, can they stink up the place. So this ebb and flow of amount of food that comes in is always difficult for judging in terms of our needs and how much we can give out. But with a commercial kitchen, we can process the excesses. We can turn some of the excess, maybe the potatoes and the carrots and the celery and the onions, turn them into soups, turn them into stews, grab and go sandwiches that we can put in the deli case, maybe prepare some frozen meals that somebody who would normally stop and get a pizza on the way home to feed their family might just grab a chicken pot pie out of the freezer. There's a lot less stress when you know when you go home you have food. I mean, that question of what we're going to have for dinner every night sometimes can be just over the top stressed for people who are already overly stressed in their lives. Grab something, grab a frozen lasagna, pop it in the oven, you're taken care of for dinner, and it's a nutritious dinner too. The kitchen will also help us in terms of maybe we can do something like restaurant rescue, where we all know that restaurants at night, they don't use everything. And if it goes to waste, what a crying shame that is. So maybe we can send the van out with a driver and they can pick up food from restaurants and process it, repackage it. So right now we can't without a kitchen. So that food just maybe heads into a landfill when it should go into somebody's stomach. So you all know about food and the need for food, but food is just the beginning when it comes to helping people, and especially in Clallam County. What our remodel, we're going to have the market will be right in the center of the warehouse. And then to the east side, we're putting in offices, obviously administrative offices, but also offices for our partner agencies in the county that can help people with issues that they're dealing with housing, utilities, transportation, veteran services. They're right there. They're excited about having a place to be close to the numbers of people that need the help. Right there in the building. So we're becoming a hub for resources. In fact, we've already got a grant to hire a resource navigator. And that person is going to work with the agencies and help connect people with the resources that they need. We're not just going to hand them a slip of paper with a phone number on it and say contact OLICAP or something. They're going to make the call with them. They're going to really hold their hand and then follow up to make sure these people get what they need to help them live better lives and climb out of poverty, that cycle of poverty. We're going to be trying to break that. The food bank is going to help with food, but also with connections. And of course, everybody knows education is a key component of breaking the cycle of poverty. And so we've also incorporated upstairs a fairly large training room, and we'll be able to host workshops there, obviously nutrition workshops, but what about like maybe a workshop on daycare certification or food handler permits or literacy, English as a second language, job skills, all sorts of things that people need to help them improve their lives. And so that basically helps us stay true to our theme of the campaign, which is Nourish to Flourish. And I always forget, sometimes I slur it, but it's Nourish to Flourish. And I'm pretty excited about what's happening and how it's going to just make everybody's lives better in the community. Because if you're dealing with people who have enough food, it's easier to work with them. It's easier to be a student. It's easier to go to your job when you have a full stomach and you're not thinking about where your next meal is coming from. And of course, it's a big deal in Clallam County because, you know, we're one of the poorest counties in the entire state. So we're working to change that. But I do want to be clear on this, that this campaign is not to buy food. It's an effort to raise the money that we need to safely store, handle, and distribute the food that we have, and also then to connect people with what they need in terms of moving their lives forward. So and the people we're talking about primarily helping, besides the people that you see on the street, and we do outreach and we reach out to them, but it's the working challenged. It's the people that work hard, but it's more difficult to make ends meet. It's always been hard to make ends meet, especially on a minimum wage job. But oh my gosh, now with inflation ramping up, the costs, as you all know, of housing, of car repairs, of clothing, food, all the necessities of life are costing more. And it's kind of scary for a lot of people, and it's just not a way to live. So we want to change that. We want our vision is again to lift people out of poverty and break the cycle of poverty here in Clallam County. So I'm just going to go for it and say that Diana and I are here to ask this club and every individual in it to give serious consideration of a donation, a generous donation if possible, to our Nourish to Flourish campaign, knowing that all of the money that has been being collected for it is being kept local. Okay, this is not, I just think sometimes it's really important to know that you're helping people that you may not even realize, but you'll run into at the gas station or you'll see at the grocery store. So also you should know that the Nor'Wester Rotary Group is the very first club that we're talking to, where the campaign is just this week really kicking off in high gear. And so we're coming to you, I guess maybe, you know, it's fun to be able to say you're the first, and perhaps you could be a cornerstone or an anchor of the effort.
So Fran,
learning. Yeah.
So Fran, so for our members that want to support it, how do they get the money to you?
Okay, well, and I just realized this morning, again, this being the first, that I should have something on the screen that says how to do it, but I'm going to talk you through it really quick right now. If we were in person, I would hand you a flyer, but I can't do that. So please accept the fact that this is my first presentation and I'm still a little shaky on it too. But you would go to our website, portangelusfoodbank.org. That's portangelusfoodbank.org. And near the very top, there's a link you can click that says Forever Home. And once you click that link, you can make a donation. You can schedule a tour. So don't just take our word for it. go down and see the construction underway, see what we're building, see the transformation for yourselves. And if you schedule the tour, it's a half-hour tour, and I think you'll become as excited about this renovation and where the food bank's going as we are. So, you know, we appreciate it. You're taking time to listen to us, and I guess we're open for questions. I think there's time for that.
So, so Fran, can you do me a favor? And we appreciate the information verbally, but we have around 50 members. About half of us are attending the meeting. So there's a lot more to this group. And I can tell you, Northwestern is very supportive of the food bank in more ways than one. So can you go ahead and just provide your flyer?
Sure.
You can send it to Kathy or John or Brian or myself, and we'll circulate it out to the whole group. So with anything you need to distribute amongst our members. And just you know, with Tim Crowley, you know, we've always loved Tim, and with his setting up of the tuna can drive. So we take it very seriously here at Northwestern, and we've won it the last 2 years and many years,
Yes.
a lot of times. So just one thing that we do as Northwestern is, along with collecting donations through the Happy Bucket, which all goes towards Port Angeles Food Bank. But some of our members have put out boxes that encouraging people to come by and drop off tuna cans in their churches and businesses. So Lori here, you can see Lori. She's general manager at Sound Bank, so she's got a box here. John Tykert and Bill both have boxes at their churches. And then Carmen set up a box at the school, Port Angeles School District. And in fact, word put out, some employees gave hard cash, and all of that's collected weekly, and we drop it off to your food bank. And we just through that alone, we've raised about $1,000. So we had it run through Thanksgiving and Christmas. I was a little slow picking it up because of my mom, but we're gonna take the boxes off one last collection. Then we're gonna relaunch it in March. All of March we'll have the boxes and you know, have a lot more business to support our tuna can. But all of it's you know support towards your organization, and we want to thank you for doing such an incredible job with the food bank and carrying through the pandemic and helping our neighbors out. And you've done a real incredible job. We'd like to see Diane down there and volunteering. So hats off to you. And everything you're doing is golden. We appreciate it.
Well, Scott, thanks. And Tim had already told me that I'm starting out with the best. And he's told me to let you know that he will be there talking to you again soon about the tuna drive and the competition. But he's really appreciative of everything. And we all are appreciative. He cycles off the board this year, by the way, but it turns out that he's going to stay with the tuna drive. So you will see him this spring.
Good.
Fran, the volunteer corps you have, how are you doing there? Do you have enough people? Do you need people? Is it a continuous need?
It is a continuous need. And we have an amazing group of volunteers, and I'm one of them. Like I said, I go out and do the grocery rescue, but we always need volunteers. And again, you can sign up on the website as a volunteer. I love it because I get a lot out of it. A lot of people my age who are, I'm in my 70s, will stay home and have breakfast and a late breakfast and maybe read the paper. And before you know it, it's 10 o'clock and you haven't had your shower yet. But I'm up and out and I'm moving and I'm lifting boxes and I'm walking. And I feel like it's a really good thing to be a volunteer. You feel good about it, but you're also doing it for yourself a little bit because of that. And our volunteers are a lot of fun to be around. And it's just nice to get out of the house and see people every day. So I recommend volunteering highly to help the community and to help yourselves too. So yes, we always need volunteers, and people like you who are so community minded are especially appreciated. So, well, I think we're just about running out of time here. I don't know, there aren't any questions, anything you need to know?
Any other questions?
I've got a comment.
Good.
It occurs to me in your hearing about the Nourish to Flourish program and your capital campaign for that commercial kitchen. And it's too bad Carmen's not here because she could maybe bring it up. But the Port Angeles School District took over the old Skills Center building up on C Street for their central office. And I went down through that here a couple of weeks ago, just looking at stuff, and that was a very complete commercial kitchen that they have there that was used to teach, a teaching kitchen, and it's got a lot of stuff. And I don't believe, from what I heard, I don't believe they have any use for that. It's just kind of in their way now. And while it's difficult for a public entity to donate to a nonprofit, they can certainly come up with creative ways if they have a need or a desire to get rid of some or all of that commercial kitchen equipment, that they could perhaps let it go for very, very little money. It might be worth looking into.
Oh, Jim, that's a really great idea. We were aware of the kitchen, and for a while we tried to use it as we're going to use our commercial kitchen, but the things just never clicked. We weren't able to, but if they're dismantling it at some point, we'll definitely talk to them.
Well, I don't know if they've already decided to do that, but it's when I took a tour of the building and all the things that they're doing, they've moved into all the other space, and it was just sitting there dark. And I said, what are you guys going to do with this? And God, we just got no plans. It's kind of in the way, was the answer I got.
Well, thank you. We'll look into that. I appreciate it.
There you go.
That's the
beauty
kind of
of-
networking we could use.
The beauty of a Rotary. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I urge everybody to go to the website, portangelisfoodbank.org, and to click on the Forever Home link and schedule a tour, because that's a half hour that will just really show you what's happening. And it is an amazing place, and it's exciting. So that tour probably tells a lot more than I could ever tell just by sitting here and talking about it. So
If anybody in the club wants to go, I would like to go take a tour. So just let me know, and maybe we can set something up.
There
that
you
would be awesome. And I'd love to be there when you do it. So I'll be watching for it.
I'll be calling you.
Good, Kathy. What a good connection. All right. Well, I sure wish everybody a happy and healthy and full stomach new year. So that's about it from Diana and from me. Diana.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Diana. You're so brave.
Yeah, thanks for both of you for your presentation today, and we look forward to receiving the flyer so we can circulate it out to everybody. And Bill, once you get word about the Phillips service, kindly just let us know. Plug in for next week. I think we have our